Friends, in last lecture we have discussed about the HPLC method development with respect to sample requirement and sample pretreatment. Now, in this talk, we will discuss about the HPLC method development with respect to the selection of the mobile phase and the selection of the stationary phase. Let's take first the role of mobile phase. For HPLC, stationary phase and mobile phase are the two important part of a system, and that will decide whether the elution or the separation of your complex mixture will occur or not. The selection of the mobile phase depends on various factors. The first is viscosity. Normally, low viscosity solvents are preferred because in HPLC, mobile phase is pressurized to move through the stationary phase. So, if the solvent is less viscous, it is easy to move along with the stationary phase with less pressure. As the viscosity increases, the efficiency of the system decreases. The second important part for the solvents which are used as the mobile phase is the UV cutoff values. What is UV cutoff? It is the wavelength below which solvent will absorb more than 1 unit in 1 centimeter cell. So ideally, it is a wavelength below which we cannot work because it absorbs appreciably. For example, acetonitrile has a UV cutoff value of 190 nanometer, which means that we cannot work below 190 nanometer using acetonitrile as a solvent. Same way, a methanol has a cutoff value of 205 nanometer, which means that we cannot work below 205 nanometer using methanol as a solvent. So, what is the wavelength at which we are working will decide which kind of solvents to be taken as a mobile phase. The another factor is about the compressibility. Solvents with high compressibility shows greater pulsation during the pumping. In HPLC, we need a pulseless flow rate so that we can get a reproducible result. But if your solvent is compressible, in that condition there are chances of pulse creation, and due to that repeatability or reproducibility in your result may not be obtained. So make sure that the solvent that you are selecting is not compressible. Another parameter is polarity. It is a measure of solvent strength or ability to elute a particular type of compound. Vapor pressure. Yes, vapor pressure creates a lot of issue during HPLC analysis. If your mobile phase is high vapor pressure, in such condition there are chances of evaporation of solvent over a period of time, and due to that the composition of the mobile phase may change. So keep in mind that the vapor pressure of the solvent that you are using should be minimum. The another factor is compatibility between the solvents. Many solvents, when they are selected as a mobile phase, they are immiscible with each other. That cannot be permissible in HPLC analysis. The another problem is precipitation of buffer. A buffer solution is prepared, and if it is mixed with a solvent which creates a precipitation of buffer, then such incompatibility cannot be tolerated in HPLC because the precipitated buffer may clog the column, and that is why when we are working with a gradient system where the mobile phases have been filled in a different bottles, we need to take care, we need to physically verify that when they are mixed together there is no precipitation or there is no incompatibility between different solvents. For reverse phase HPLC system, the stationary phase is non-polar, so polar mobile phases are preferred, and the normally used solvents are methanol, acetonitrile, water, ethanol and different buffer solutions. And for normal phase conditions, the mobile phase used are non-polar, and these are pentane, hexane, heptane, dichloromethane, dichloroethane, and butyl chloride. These are few examples which can be preferred as a mobile phase in normal phase conditions. These solvents are less viscous, so it is easy to maintain a flow rate with a low pressure. But the disadvantage is that they are highly flammable. Many a times we may include buffers as a part of mobile phase. For acidic and basic samples, it is necessary to control ionization, and which can be achieved by using buffers in the mobile phase. For buffer selection, the factors to be considered are the UV cutoff value, as already we have discussed, and the second factor is buffer capacity. Buffer capacity is the ability of a buffer to maintain pH. Buffer ionization occurs over a range in a pH given by pK plus or minus 1.5. So for example, if a buffer has a pK value of 4.5, then below pH 3 and above pH 6, there are chances of ionization of buffer. So between pH 3 to 6, buffer can effectively control the pH. So that is called as buffer capacity and buffer range. So within a particular range only buffer can act and try to maintain the pH. So it is necessary to select a buffer for a pH which is required for the mobile phase. Ideally, the buffer concentration used are between 10 to 50 millimolar. If high concentration of buffers are used, they provide good buffer capacity, but at the same time they are incompatible with many mobile phase solvents. Like in acetonitrile, if high concentration of buffers are used, then acetonitrile may cause precipitation of buffer. The pK value of some of the commonly used buffers are as below. Potassium dihydrogen phosphate KH2PO4 and phosphoric acid buffer. It has a pK value of 2.1 and 7.2. So we can decide a range in which this can work as a good buffer. For citric acid and potassium citrate buffer, the pK values are 3, that is 3.1, 4.7 and 5.4. And for potassium acetate and acetic acid buffer, the pK value is 4.8. So plus or minus 1.5, in that particular range, it can work as a good buffer, in which we try to maintain the pH. Many a times we can add certain peak modifiers in a mobile phase. For basic compounds, amine modifiers like triethylamine, hexylamines are added to the mobile phase in high concentration, which blocks the ionized signal group of stationary phase. So basic compound gets eluted faster with good peak shape. The basic purpose of adding peak modifier is to improve peak shape and reduce the tailing of a drug or a compound. So which can be achieved by adding a peak modifier. For example, if you add triethylamine, this triethylamine will block the silanol group, and due to that the compound gets eluted faster, and due to that a good peak shape can be obtained. But we need to take precaution also, because such peak modifiers may sometimes damage your stationary phase bindings. For acidic compound, acetic acid or sodium acetate can help to improve the peak shape of these drugs. So that is all about the mobile phases which can be used in HPLC and the precaution to be taken while selecting a mobile phase. Now coming back to the fourth point, that is the stationary phases. Normally, stationary phases are packed in column and these columns are made up of stainless steel. Particularly, we are talking of analytical chemistry where stainless steel columns are normally preferred. Most liquid chromatographic columns range from 5 to 25 cm and straight columns are preferred. And the inside diameter of the analytical column is 3 to 5 mm and the most common particle size of the packing is 3 to 5 micrometer. The stationary phase characteristic that we need to consider are as below. Surface area. As the particle size reduces, the surface area increases for the stationary phase. And more the surface area, better the separation. But at the same time, if you reduce the particle size, the pressure required for the mobile phase to pass over the stationary phase will also increase. So, it should be a compromise between these 2 points. The second point is particle shape. Ideally, spherical particles are preferred as a stationary phase. Pore size. Pore size affects the separation of compound with different diameters. Particle size. As already we have discussed, as the particle size decreases, surface area increases, which is the preferred condition, but at the same time the mobile phase pressure also increases. The ideal particle size for analytical separation is 5 micrometer with column length of 25 cm, but in ultra pressure liquid chromatography the particle size up to 3 micrometer is used, where the surface area increases, and to reduce the effect of column pressure the length of the column is reduced to 10 to 15 cm. So within a short period of time you can achieve a separation, a better resolution that can be achieved using UPLC columns. Particle size distribution of stationary phase. Ideally, there should be a narrow distribution of the particle size. Another point is about the chemical stability. The column packing, the stationary phase should be stable to various mobile phase conditions. And specifically, it should be stable at low and high pH values. Because many a times when we are using a buffer where we set a pH of the mobile phase, and such pH should not damage the stationary phase which is used. Surface reactivity. Ideally, the reaction of stationary phase surface and the compound should be reversible. In case of reverse phase HPLC, where silica is used as support material, all the silyl group present on the silica must be deactivated by silylation process or the end capping process. So always try to prefer end capped columns while you are working with reverse phase chromatography. Normally there are 2 types of column packing, pellicular and porous. Ideally porous packings are preferred because they offer more surface area compared to pellicular packings. For examples, the different stationary phases that are available based on separation principles are given in the table. For adsorption chromatography, we have a silica gel and alumina. For partition chromatography, we have C18, C8 and phenyl. For ion exchange, we have cation exchange and anion exchange resins. For size exclusion chromatography, we have dextran. And for affinity chromatography, we have antigen-antibody kind of reactions, where the antigens are coated on the stationary phases. The detectors are also an important part of this process. The normally used detectors are UV visible detector, photodiode array detector, fluorescent detector, refractive index detector, electrochemical detectors and mass detector, and these are the factors affecting selection of detectors.